We are now on page 20. We are on page after page 20. Basically, we are talking about the 4 sons. Last week we started to study the Agada, and we continue to study the Agada. As we say every time, the class is in memory of Jared Orchin. The 4 sons. How the rabbis arrived to the 4 sons? There are 4 times in the Bible it's written to tell the story. The main mitzvah, there is 2 biblical mitzvahs for the night of Pesach. One mitzvah is to eat matzah. The other mitzvah is to tell the story. To tell the story means you have to tell it to your children. And it's written in the Bible 4 times, quotes, the Torah says, if your son will ask you, if when you should tell to your son, and so on, that the rabbis derived from it 4 types of sons. So they came up with the Chacham, the wise son, who knows, and he asks for more if you want. The second son is the wicked son. The third son is the simpleton, and the one who does not know how to ask. Normally, if I would have to put the order of the sons, how would we put the order? If the wise one is number 1, what would be number 4?
The wicked.
The wicked. That would be the normal way. Go ahead.
Well, the other issue is the one, the one who doesn't know how to ask. At least the wicked one, you can have a dialogue.
Oh, then the question is, why is the Rosh, the wicked, next to the Chacham? The answer is that the Rosh cares. The wicked one is somebody who cares. He might be an atheist, he might be an agnostic, he might be fighting Judaism, but there is somebody you can have a dialogue with him, exactly. He cares, there is somebody to talk to. The one who doesn't know how to ask, because he doesn't care to ask. He doesn't care. If you don't care, you cannot do anything with him. That's number 1. Why the one who does not ask is worse than the wicked one. Another reason why we put the wicked one next to the wise one is because the wise one has a responsibility for the wicked one. He shouldn't think, I'm here, the wicked one is on the other side. I don't care. It's not my problem. It's not my problem. There was some famous rabbi that used to ask him, what's about this? It's not my problem. Nothing is his problem. The Judaism tells you, you bet it's your problem. The wicked is next to you. And more than that, we are neighbors. Or you influence them, or he will influence you. Whatever you choose. No such thing as I'm living in an isolated society that I don't know what's going on. Nothing will happen. I will not influence them, he will not influence me. One will influence the other, that's for sure. And that's why the wicked is right next to the Chacham. The problem with the wicked one is, first of all, let's read what the Chacham is asking. The Chacham is asking, what is he asking? The previous Lubavitcher Rebbe said, when he starts the second paragraph, it starts, Chacham ma'u omer. The wise one, what does he say? In Hebrew, Chacham ma'hu omer. A person, by his questions, says who he is. In Hebrew, you can translate in a different way that Chacham who he is. If you want to know who he is, listen to him. That he will tell you. The more that what you say about other people, your talking speaks about you. Who you are, who you really are, what's your point of view, how you're looking at things. That's verse 2. But the Chacham says what? What are the testimonies, the statutes, and the laws of the Lord? There is 3 types of laws in the Torah. Eidus, Chukim, and Mishpatim. You've heard about these 3? Laws, there is, let's start, Chukim. Chukim is the most famous. Chok means a law that you cannot break. In Judaism, we're talking also about laws that we do not understand the reason for it. Who can give me an example of a law that does not have a logical explanation?
Red heifer.
The red heifer. Anything more really realistic?
What is it, taking eggs from a bird's nest?
There is some.
That's not considered.
Milk and meat.
Milk and meat, beautiful. Much more simpler. Don't have to go so far. Milk kosher, all the laws of kosher, basically, the whole concept of kosher is beyond logic, yeah? Then there is mitzvahs that make sense, mishpatim. What are the mitzvahs that completely make sense?
Not killing.
Not killing.
Commandments.
Anything
That's
more
not
meaningful?
stealing.
Your father.
How about honoring your father? Simple. Let's not run to killing and stealing.
How about that?
Honoring your father and mother, picking up the phone, how are you? Not going too far. Then there is testimonial mitzvahs. Testimonial mitzvahs means eidus. They are mitzvahs that they are a testimony of our relationship with God. If God wouldn't tell us to do it, we wouldn't do it. But after He told us to do it, we know why, and it makes sense. For example,
Putting on tefillin?
putting on
Well, it's
tefillin
more of a.
is more of a law that does not have a
Logical.
logical
Yeah.
explanation.
Devotion.
Eating matzah. Why we eat matzah? Because it just we were rushed out of Egypt. If I would make the mitzvahs, sure, you can eat matzah the first night for half hour, that's nice and fine and finished. I wouldn't do it 7 days. But after Hashem is doing it, I know why, it makes sense. That means we wouldn't come up, you see, honoring your father and mother, if God wouldn't tell us, we would learn that, we would come to these conclusions. As the Talmud says, if not for the Torah, we would learn now not to steal from an ant, from the Nemalim. Well, they don't steal. But this meets the idea of Pesach and Shabbos and holidays. They are testimonial mitzvahs. These mitzvahs, God created the world in 7 days, fine. What I would do, maybe, I would eat a shtickle kugel on Shabbos afternoon, but I wouldn't do a whole Shabbos. I mean, let's not get overly excited, carried away. But after God said, I know why it makes sense. There are 3 types of mitzvahs. The Chochem is asking, what are the 3 types of mitzvahs that Hashem taught us? And we have to give an explanation. He's asking, he wants a deeper understanding. He can explain his questions in many ways. Some people say he's asking why we need 3 different mitzvahs. What's easier to observe? Mitzvahs that make sense or mitzvahs that don't make sense? What do you think?
That makes sense.
It's easier to observe? Mitzvahs that make sense. Honor your father and mother, right? What, in reality, what people observe more? Mitzvahs that make sense or mitzvahs that don't make sense?
The ones that don't make sense. Circumcision.
And we are a little meshuggah, right?
Oh, yes. We talked about it.
We are observing the mitzvahs that don't make sense. You're observing much faster than the mitzvahs that make sense. Because whatever it makes sense, and find excuses. Oh, today it's not realistic. We don't have to. If it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. I don't have any explanation for it. I don't have a reason. I cannot find excuses for it. That's the Chochem.
Yeah, but why does it then, the answer is you turn to him and you so instruct him in the laws of Pesach. He's asked a generalized question that is much broader than Pesach. Why do you answer him with Pesach and they don't address those 3 conditions?
We teach him all the laws of Pesach. Because we are in Pesach, right?
Right.
That we are teaching him about Pesach.
Okay.
And more than that, I think the idea is that we teach him that there is laws that even we don't understand, that's what he's supposed to do, that's the order. Maybe the idea that not everything we can understand. Maybe that's what we want to
Are
teach
they
him.
all included in Pesach?
Because the wise man is trying to be wise, he's trying to understand things that he cannot understand also.
Yeah, but with Pesach, we are explaining everything. You ask the 4 questions, you go through the
You
different
try to
things.
explain, but in general, what I mean to say is you cannot eat anything after the Afikoman. Like it's a law. That's it. You cannot eat anything after the Afikoman. Even things that you don't understand, you have to accept it. I think that's the message that they want to give him.
Okay.
The wicked one, let's try to understand what's going on with the wicked one. You want to read what the wicked one says? You read.
The wicked one, what does he say? What is this service to you? He says, to you, but not to him. By thus excluding himself from the community, he has denied that which is fundamental. You therefore blunt his teeth and say to him, it is because of this that the Lord did for me when I left Egypt, for me, but not for him. If he had been there, he would not have been redeemed.
You know, I was teaching that in Hebrew school last Wednesday, I think it was, or maybe this Sunday, I don't even remember. And one girl read it to herself. I was teaching only pictures. She was reading this, and she told me, we should include them. We shouldn't blunt his teeth and throw him out. I mean, what is this? She's 7th grader. She was educated enough that you have to include everybody and love everybody. And this is not going in the, it's not the in thing to do today. What is this? That question is, what really is written here? What do you mean you blunt the state and you tell them, oh, if you would be in Egypt, you wouldn't be redeemed. What kind of a message is this? That the Rebbe explains, if you would be in Egypt, you wouldn't be redeemed. Egypt, before Mount Sinai, the Jewish people were just a family. As a family, if you don't want to be a part of the Jewish people, don't do any favors. Fine, have a nice day. After Mount Sinai, we must deal with everyone. God chose the Jewish people, and everyone is a part of the Jewish people, and we cannot lose one Jew. We cannot afford to lose one Jew. That before Mount Sinai, we tell them, if you would be there in Egypt, we wouldn't even talk to you. You wouldn't be redeemed. Now, since Mount Sinai, now doesn't mean from today, since Mount Sinai, we have to deal with every Jew, and we have to bring every Jew to the table and to connect them to Judaism. We cannot afford to lose one Jew. That's the message that we really want to tell them. Even if it doesn't sound so, the language is not so amazing. Then we have the simpleton and the one who doesn't know how to ask. And then we have, as the Rebbe used to say, the 5th son, who doesn't even come to the Seder. And this son we have to bring to the Seder.
What's very funny was that the Rebbe's influence,
Mm-hmm.
the Reformed synagogue, adopted that
Sure.
in the 70s.
They now
So-
even adapting even more.
No, I understand, but it was his influence was
Sure.
very powerful.
I was going to, apart from the 5th son, you mentioned last time that the number 10 comes up, but it seems to me the number 4 comes up quite a bit too. There's 4 questions. There's 4 sons.
4 cups
There's
of
4
wine.
cups of wine.
You're right. No. Mark, what's 4?
Yud Kei Vav Kei.
The name of Hashem is 4 letters. That's what it reminds us, the number 4. More than that, we spoke last time, the 3 matzahs are the 3 patriarchs, the 4 cups of wine are the 4 matriarchs. You know, some people want to put an orange on the table or things like this, and the Seder plate. We have a way to, we remember the matriarchs, the 4 cups of wine are the 4 matriarchs. Don't have to look for new ways to do it.
And finishing each cup is something that they want us to do, the matriarchs? Take all the
We have to drink the wine, yes. Not to waste about it. Then we start to tell the Agoda, to tell the story. The beginning we were idol worshippers, and then Hashem took us and brought us closer to Him. And there is no point to read everything, the whole Agoda, you know, the regular Agoda. We'll just go we'll go to page 26. He says, blessed he is, you want to read it?
Blessed is he who keeps his promise to Israel. Blessed be he. For the Holy One, blessed be he, calculated the end of the bondage in order to do as he had said to our father Abraham at the covenant between the portions, as it is said. And he said to Abraham, you shall know that your seed will be strangers in a land that is not theirs, and they will enslave them and make them suffer for 400 years. But I shall also judge the nation whom they shall serve, and after that they will come out with great wealth.
Something very interesting here. God will calculate. I said it, by the way.
Oh, okay.
God will calculate the redemption from Egypt. What does this mean? Thank you. God told Abraham that the children are going to be when he had the dream, right? He told them children are going to be slaves for 400 years. The reality, how long the Jews were in Egypt?
210.
210. How we calculate the 400?
From Isaac.
From the day that Isaac was born. That means to say, we are blessing God that He calculated the redemption from Egypt easier for the Jewish people. That's why you never sit with God, you never use a calculator with God. Oh God, you owe me, God, you said this, God, leave it up to God, it'll be better. Don't try to be his accountant. And God is doing it on his own. He's doing a much better job. That's what we are blessing God for, calculating the exodus from Egypt. When God is calculating his better, whenever the Jewish people calculated, we got in trouble. When the Jewish people calculated,
Mount Sinai.
Oh,
Moses
Moses.
coming down.
Yeah.
Moses coming down. Even before the Exodus, it's written that 30 years before that, I think, the tribe of Ephraim tried to get out of Egypt, and it was a mess. Why? Because they used the wrong calculation. Don't hold the calculator when it comes to God.
We see this in Babylon with Purim.
So there's a Purim when it's the 70 years. Belshazzar made one mistake, then Achashverosh made the other mistake, and he got in trouble. We do not hold calculators. We have faith in Hashem, and we do what He's supposed to do, and everything will work out much better. And when we think about it, we understand that, then we are much better off. Then we say the famous line, Ve'isha Amda. It's a famous song, Ve'isha Amda Lavotenu. What are you really saying? That in every generation, people try to destroy us, and Hashem saved us from us. And when you have the sense of history, that you know what happened in the past, you don't lose it. You don't get so afraid, oh, what's going to be? Hashem saved us there. And you're not surprised also, you're not caught by surprise. He brings here, okay, let's go to page 30. I mean, we'll never finish. No, go further. We know the story, right?
You've seen it a few times.
Yeah, you know
Once
the
or
story.
twice.
Once or twice, you know the story. We have nothing to teach you, you know the whole thing.
It's not our first rodeo.
And we gotta do it again next week.
For
Then we
real,
have-
for real.
For real, yeah.
Then we have the 10 plagues.
Oh, right. Can't forget
And
that.
Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Akiva, they say how much is every plague. Then we have the Dayenu. The Dayenu is a message. It's like something like counting your blessings. Even if God would only took us out of Egypt, would be a lot. And even if he took us out of Egypt and do the miracles, would be a lot. And we go on and on and on. We count all the things that God gave us. And we count among them that He gave us the Shabbos, He gave us the manna, He gave us the Shabbat, He brought us to Mount Sinai. If you look at the order, it's the order the way things happened. First, when we came out on page 40, we say in the third before the bottom, if we had drawn, what is it? And had not supply, He gave us the Shabbos. First He took us out from Egypt, then He gave us the manna, then He gave us the mitzvah of Shabbat. The mitzvah of Shabbat came before Mount Sinai. When the first week they got the manna, and Friday came a double portion of manna. They asked Moses why it came, and Moses told them because of Shabbat. From Moses' way, the way he told them, we learn about the whole system of the Haggadah. The whole Haggadah is a very interesting system. The whole Haggadah is made in a way. You have to teach your children. How you teach your children? You make them wonder why. And they ask, what's going on here? Why are we eating matzah tonight? Why are we reclining? Why are we dipping? Why are we eating maror? Also, dish, what is this? We never eat it. No dinner. We never eat it on dinner. And then you give them the answers. Where we learned it? Where is the source in the Torah for this kind of communication? We learned that from Moses' story at the story with the manna. God told Moses in the beginning, God told Moses, I'm going to bring the manna. On Friday they will get a double portion of manna, because on Shabbos will not be manna, because they have to observe the Shabbat. Moses didn't say anything to the Jewish people. Manna came. Oh, manna, what's manna? He said, yeah, God sends you food, and everyone should take the omer, a certain portion, a pound like. And came Friday, they got a double portion of manna. The elders, I think it's written, or the leaders, ran to Moses, asked him, what's going on here? Moses says, oh, this I have some, I have something to tell you. Tomorrow is Shabbos. And many commentators think, what's going on here? Hashem tells them to tell the Jewish people the Shabbos. He kept it to himself. Only when he came to ask, then he told them. I saw one of the commentators, he said something very interesting. He said that was the way that Moses, no, he comes, if I come and tell you, I give you a lecture, you don't even remember anything. If you come and have a question, you wonder why, and then you get an answer, then you remember it for the rest of your life. What do you remember? You remember when you ask somebody a question, and then you got an answer. Oh, and then bothered you, the question, you couldn't sleep, so what's going on here? Why suddenly this? And you heard an answer, oh, that you remember. That's the way all the Agoda is made, from the stealing the Afikoman, to the 4 questions, to the whole system of making the kids asking questions, is really, you can say that we learned that from Moses himself. That Shabbos was given before Mount Sinai. Then he gave us Mount Sinai. Then he took us to the land of Israel. Then he built the Holy Temple in Jerusalem.
When, and maybe you already answered this question. When did the Haggadah get written?
That's a good question. It's not clear, but the way I understand it. I saw it in other places. The 5 rabbis who sit in the beginning and say, Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, right? They wrote the Haggadah, basically. Look, if you look good, you see what's going on here. I want to show you.
It's on page 20.
No, I know where it's the story with the rabbis, but I want to show you. Here, here it comes, you see the names of the rabbis.
They were all
Here on page 37, for example. No.
On page 44.
If you page 39, you look. Rabbi Eliezer, we say a quote from Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer was at this meeting. Rabbi Akiva, right? Then you see that the rabbis, we quote them. Then we have on page 44, we have Rabbi Gamliel. Rabbi Gamliel was alive at that time. He wasn't at this meeting, but he was the leader at that time. It's our story, if he was the leader, if he wasn't the leader, but he was around. And then we quote Rabbi Gamliel. That basically you can say that they are guarded the way we learned it today. This night, that Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah and Rabbi Tarfon and with Rabbi Yeshua, right, were there sitting in Bnei Brak and discussing the story of the Exodus. They created, their conversation was created the Haggadah, more or less.
And that was around what year was that? What century?
That
Second
was
century? Romans. Right?
yeah.
Romans.
Yeah, sure. First, that was right 50 years after the destruction of the temple, something like this. Then you're talking about 2nd century, right? Now we'll go to page 44. Rabbi Gamliel used to say,
Whoever does not discuss the following 3 things on Pesach has not fulfilled his duty, namely Pesach, the Pesach sacrifice, matzah, the unleavened bread, and moror, the bitter herbs. Pesach, the Pesach lamb that our fathers ate during the time of the Bet Hamidash. For what reason did they do so? Because the Yam present passed over our fathers' houses in Egypt, as it is said. You shall say, it is a Pesach offering to the Lord, because he passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt, when he struck the Egyptians with a plague, and he saved our houses. And the people bowed and prostrated themselves.
okay, then Pesach is because Hashem saved us, right? He passed over the houses, and he at the doors, and he saved us, and he left, and he killed the Egyptian. He took us out. That Pesach is a remembrance of God's miracle. Then comes the next miracle, the next thing, the matzah. Why we eat matzah?
This matzah that we eat, for what reason? Because the dough of our fathers did not have time to become leavened before the King of the Kings of Kings, the Holy One, blessed be He, revealed Himself to them and redeemed them. Thus it is said, they baked matzah cakes from the dough that they had brought out of Egypt, because it was not leavened, for they had been driven out of Egypt and could not delay. And they had also not prepared any other provisions.
Okay. Matzah tells our story. That the Jewish people came out from Egypt, rushed out of Egypt, and they didn't have time to bake the matzah. And Hashem, and they took their little matzahs. They didn't have time to make bread, and they run after God. They went after Moses out of Egypt. There's a famous question from Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Bardichev. Levi Yitzchak of Bardichev was one of the most famous Hasidic masters. He's known for being the defender of Israel. What means the defender of Israel? He always stood up in front of God and says, God, what do you want from the Jewish people? What do you want from them? They are such amazing Jews. And used to create situations and events that made the Jew always look good. There is even a song that he says in Yiddish. It says, "Was osto to the Jew to the Jewish. What do you have? What do you want from the Jewish people? Like, what are you upset with them? What do you want from their lives?" There is many stories about them. There is a story that once the famous story, he saw a Jew walking in the street on Yom Kippur smoking. Told him, "You, maybe you forgot that it's Yom Kippur today." He says, "No, I know it's Yom Kippur today." "Maybe you forgot you're not allowed to smoke on Yom Kippur." I said, "No, I know. To God, he says, "Look, God, what wonderful children you have." Even somebody who smokes on Yom Kippur and knows that Yom Kippur and he knows he's not allowed to smoke is not allowed to lie. He says the truth. That he always looked inside the Jewish people, and he found the good part about the Jewish people. There's a story about Pesach. And Pesach once he asked from his secretary, from his shamesh, to go and to pick up, he wants alcohol. Vodka. Before the Seder, everybody is going to shul, he wants alcohol. He says, "Rebbe, it's Pesach." He says, "That's what I want." Goes to the first Jewish house, he says, "I need alcohol." The Rabbi comes in. Yeah, he says, "What's wrong with you?" Finally, he was forced to say, the Rebbe said he wants alcohol. The Rebbe says he wants alcohol. He couldn't find alcohol. He would wish to give the Rebbe, but he don't have. Because the next Jewish house, third, comes back, he says, "Rebbe, he couldn't find any." He says, "Now go to the non-Jewish neighbors." At that time in Russia, it was like prohibition. You were not allowed to sell alcohol. Anybody who was so caught with alcohol was going to jail and punished and fined. He walks into the first house. He says, "Need alcohol?" "No, we don't have alcohol." He says, "Oh, I'll pay you." In a minute, it was alcohol. He comes back to Rabbi Levi Yitzchak, says, "Rebbe, if you really want, we can get one." Rabbi Levi Yitzchak stood up and says, "God in heaven, look what kind of wonderful children you have. The Russian government has police and jails and Cossacks and Siberia and gulags and whatever you want. And for 1 minute, if you want, for an extra money, you can find alcohol. And you, God in heaven, no police, no armies, no nothing. You just wrote in the Torah that we're not allowed to have chometz. And no Jew, even if I wanted to pay them, I couldn't find alcohol. Look what a wonderful Jews you have." And there is many, many stories, and it wasn't just that he always found, it was a real way to bring out the beauty of the Jewish person. That he was asking the question, in the Torah, the holiday of Pesach is called Chag HaMatzot, the holiday of matzahs. If you say if we say it in the Kiddush, for example, how we call the holiday? We call the holiday on page 14, we call it Chag HaMatzot Hazeh, the day of the Feast of Matzahs. Right? Chag HaMatzot. We don't call it Chag HaPesach. Don't call it the holiday. We don't call it Passover. On page 14, we call it the holiday of Matzahs. Why we all call it Pesach? That was the question of Rabbi Yitzchak of Bardichev. In the Torah, it's called Matzahs. In the Talmud gave the name Pesach, the holiday Pesach, Passover. In the Torah, it's called Matzahs, the holiday of Matzahs. Many times, many places. That he said like this. He said, God calls it Matzahs. What the word Matzahs reminds him? the greatness, the fate of the Jewish people that trust in Hashem, to go with a few crackers out of Egypt and to go after him after Moses to the desert. And as the prophet Jeremiah says, I remember to you your kindness at your youth when you went after me to the land to the desert. Hashem says, that's what Hashem calls it. The Jewish people call it Passover. We remember God's credit. God saved us and passed over the houses, and he saved the Jewish people, passed over the doors. It's like in a good marriage, everyone gives credit to the other side. You tell somebody, oh, you raised the children, you raised the good children, so it's not me, it's my wife. Sometimes the wife gives credit to the husband too. It's less common, but sometimes it happens.
Well, we see the same thing we talked about with the wearing the tefillin. Hashem, what He thinks of us, and when we put on our tefillin, we think of Him.
You're right, but this is more a commentary. Here we see it clearly.
Okay.
God calls it in the Torah matzahs. We call it the holiday of Pesach. We give Him credit for the holiday. He gives us credit for the holiday. That's what we learn from these two things. And then we say on page 47, the third paragraph, we say something very powerful. In every generation, a person is obligated to regard himself as if he came out from Egypt. The Alter Rebbe says, every day, not only every generation. What means to go out from Egypt? How can I feel today that I went out from Egypt? What means to go out from Egypt? What means to be a free man? The question is even more. God took us out from Egypt, and what He gave us? He made us free people.
No.
He gave us 613 commandments.
We became slaves to Him.
Clearly, He says, Avodayim, you are my slave, you are my servant. And that's what you think the Jewish people complained in the desert all 4 years. That was not the deal. We thought we're getting a deal, becoming free people. That's not the deal. What's the question is, as we spoke many times, what is true freedom?
Choice.
Is true freedom that I can do whatever I want? If somebody has an alcohol problem, addiction, and he cannot control it, is he a free person? All of us, some people get angry very fast. They try to say, I will never do it again. Never! Didn't pass 5 minutes. The doctor tells you don't eat chocolate, it's not good for you. Sure, I promise you, I'll never do it. And so on and on and on. Then what's a free person? Somebody who cannot control his desires, his addictions, is not a free man. Then what is a free person? A free person is somebody that his mind control his heart. He can decide what he wants and what he doesn't want. Then think about it. A person who is, you have a customer, a patient who drives you crazy. You're ready to punch him in the nose. Now, you have to, if you punch him in the nose, I gave it to him, right? But then you got yourself an enemy for life, and he will make sure you'll have another 50 enemies. But if you control yourself, and you please them, not only you didn't get yourself other enemies, you will come back.
That's good customer service.
Exactly. That's self-control.
Yeah.
That's in business, it's in marriage, it's in everything in life. Then true freedom is the power to control yourself. Ezeu Gibor, says the Mishnah, who is a strong man, a koveshet yitzro, somebody who controls his own inclinations. Now, how the Torah made us this way? 613 commandments. God trained us to do what we decide to do, not what we want to do. Every mitzvah trains us to control, with the mind, to control the heart. I don't want to put on tefillin. I have to do it anyway. I want to eat this thing, it's not kosher. I don't eat. I control myself. Every mitzvah there, I don't want to go to synagogue, I'm tired today, I want to sleep in. I'm going. Whatever mitzvah you do, it's all about self-control. It's all about how little, it's how less important it's me. It's not about me. The moment I train myself into this world, into this kind of thinking, It's the best exercise. Forget about any religion. It's the best exercise to control yourself. Then you can control. Then it's much easier to control other things. Then the old Torah, it's written, for example, that's a famous line everybody knows. Hillel says, the famous story, the convert came to Hillel and told them, teach me the Torah while I'm standing on one foot, right? He came to Shammai, Shammai threw him out, he came to Hillel. Hillel told them, love your fellow, what you don't like people to do to you, don't do to others. And the rest is a commentary, right? How exactly is the rest a commentary to the mitzvah of loving your fellow Jew? How is the Torah, how is the mitzvah of the red heifer a commentary to loving your fellow Jew? Maybe you can say all the mitzvahs between man and man is a commentary to this. Fine. You know, if you're visiting the sick and burying the dead and taking care of the poor, it's all the same idea. But how is putting on tefillin like commentary to loving your fellow Jew? How is making a bris a commentary to following him? What's the problem with us? Why we don't love each other? Because it's me and you. Now, if I'm here, you're taking away my space. I don't want you. You're pushing me away. I'm losing. It's me. How could I love you if I'm even busy with me? The moment me is a little less, there is more place for you. When there is less me, there is more place for you. What separates us? Our egos, our personal identity. Then the neshama, oh, my soul doesn't take away anything from your soul. For example, my soul wants to do mitzvahs. There is enough for me, enough for you, enough for everybody. It's the ego what takes away, right? Every mitzvah teaches us that it's not about us. Making a bris, it's not about me. It's not exciting to make a bris. Not to yourself and not to your child. But you still do it. When you stay by a bris, you do it because Hashem said, because it's not about me. Every mitzvah that I do is not about me. The moment that the mitzvahs are not about me, there is space for everybody. That's what it is. That's what it's all about. And the same thing is here. How we come to the idea of that what is redeeming from Egypt? Egypt in Hebrew, how you say Egypt in Hebrew? Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim has two meanings. Mitzrayim is Egypt, and Mitzrayim means Meitzarim. Meitzarim means boundaries. Going out from Egypt means to go out from our boundaries. Then every year, every day, we have to go out from our boundaries, routines. People like routine. Don't move my pen. My coffee stands right here. Don't move it. Why you moved it? Why you touched it? Everything should be right there. Going out from our boundaries. Routine is the enemy of spirituality. Spirituality means to grow, to go out. You know, the Jewish people are compared to the moon. The moon is never the same, not in one day. It's bigger or smaller. God doesn't mind if it gets sometimes smaller, because you are moving, we are alive. Moving is a sign that you're alive. You're better, you're worse. People are dead. Picture doesn't get every time smaller or bigger. And that's what it is. You saw it, that's it. The idea of life is moving. And that's what it's going out from Egypt. Every day we have to go out from Egypt. From our own Egypt, our own personal Egypt. That's what he's talking about. Then we say the first two paragraphs of the Hallel, and then we come to the second cup of wine. That the first part of the Seder is the two cups of wine. This was used, obviously. The only page that was used. The first part of the first part of the Seder is the two cups of wine. Then we go now to the real thing. We wash the end. We say the bracha over the matzah. Now the first two nights of Pesach, in addition to the amotzi lechem min haaretz, we say a blessing, al achilat asher kidishanu al achilat matzah, a blessing for the matzah. Why? Because there is two types of blessings. There is blessings that you do for food. Amotzi lechem is for food whenever you eat. And there is blessings that you do for a mitzvah. When is a mitzvah to eat matzah? The first two nights. That's why in addition to the amotzi, we say a blessing of the rest of the week you can eat matzah fine. You don't have to eat matzah. But on the first two nights of Pesach you have a mitzvah to eat matzah. That's why we say a blessing over the matzah. Then we say a blessing over the maror. Because what type of a blessing is there over the maror? It's interesting, we do not say a blessing. You know, when you eat vegetable, which blessing you say when you eat vegetables? Huh? Bara Priya Adama, right? Why we don't say this blessing? We say a blessing for the mitzvah of eating the maror. What happened to the blessing of Borei Priya Adama? Mark, what is the blessing from Borei Priya Adama? What happened to it? Let's go back, I'll show you.
Both, no?
Was that the onion?
We say the onion, we keep in mind the Adama also. And now we only say the blessing over on page, that's page 16, you see? And he says it clear. And he says, when reciting this blessing, have in mind that is also for the bitter herb. Here we say the blessing over the mitzvah of eating maror. Like we say a blessing over putting on film, we say a blessing over the mitzvah of eating matzah. It's a mitzvah, that's why we say the blessing. Then we come to the korech. Korech is the sandwich. Who invented the word sandwich?
The Earl sandwich.
The
The Earl sandwich.
The sandwich comes from England, right? People think it's from England. The
That
truth is
comes
it comes from
from
England.
Passover.
Absolutely.
What are you talking about?
2,500 years ago.
With no bread.
Nobody wants to give credit to the Jews.
Never. That if they don't want to give us, we take. What do you say? It's a very interesting line. What do you say when we do the sandwich? This is the way. Who wants to read? Who's supposed to read?
No.
Go ahead.
Which
Thus did Hillel.
Those did
did Hillel.
Hillel.
Thus did Hillel to do at the time of the Beit Hamikdash. He would combine Pesach offering, matzah, and maror, and eat them together, as it said. They should eat it with matzah and bitter herbs.
What is this business? This is the way Hillel used to say. Just take the matzah. Hillel used to do. Who cares what Hillel used to do? Who cares why we do it? There is many mitzvahs he do because of this rabbi, because of this. We never say this is the way he said. You know, for example, Rosh Hashanah, you know, Pesach is right 6 months from Rosh Hashanah. The way we blow the shofar, you know, we established this system was a rabbi with the name Rabbi Avo. You never even heard about him. Rabbi Avo was a famous rabbi. He lived in Caesarea, and he was a famous, very powerful rabbi. He had connections with the government. That's why he lived in Caesarea. And it used to be two different ways how the Jewish people used to blow the shofar. It was a big argument. How you cry. When you cry, if you cry with short breaths or with long breaths. It's two. That how short are your breaths? That was the argument. That in the south, they used to blow the shofar in one way. In the north, they used to blow the shofar in the other way. Came Rabbi Avo and said, let's make it universal. Let's unite the Jewish people. Then what he said, let's do it one system. It's called Tkiya. Oh, I got scared. Tkiya, Shvarim, it means to say one long sound, then 3 shorter ones, then 9 very short ones, then 1 long one. Everybody will do the same. We end up to do like the north, like the south, and like Rabavo. That's what we do. That's why there is so many shofar blowing. But we don't stand up before when we start the shofar. We stop blow the shofar. So this is the way Rabbi Avo used to do it, and that's why he used to say. That's why we're doing it. Why suddenly Hillel we say it? This is the way Hillel used to say. Why we mention Hillel by that God? That's a real question. So we want to do a sandwich. Fine, do a sandwich. Say we don't. No other blessing. There is many things we do because of different rabbis and different things. We never mention. This is the way he did it. Who cares who did it? Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai made a custom, the tradition, that we say the blessing over the lulav for 7 days in Sukkot. Before Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai used to be that only in the temple we fulfill the mitzvah of the lulav for 7 days, but the rest of the world only 1 day, only in Jerusalem. The rest of the world, Sukkot, you say the bracha over the lulav, and the first day, done. Finish the first day, you put away the lulav. The mitzvah in the Bible is ulekachtem lochem bayom harishon. You should take for yourself at the first day. Came Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai and said it was after the destruction of the temple. He says a way to remember the destruction of the temple, not the destruction. The temple is by doing the mitzvah of Lulav for 7 days. But nobody starts on the second day of Sukkot and says, this is the way Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said you should do it. Why Hillel? Why suddenly we get all fall in love with Hillel and we start to say, that first of all we love Hillel. Hillel was a good man. Hillel loved every Jew. Hillel said the best lines in Judaism. Hillel had the most patience than everybody ever had. Hillel was great, but there is more to it. How Hillel became a rabbi. When Hillel became a leader.
When the two brothers were...
Oh, it was once Pesach was Saturday night. And they didn't know, usually, for example, Monday night, now this is the afternoon before that, you offer the Passover sacrifice. If Pesach is Saturday night, the question is, they didn't know, the rabbis who were at that time the leaders, Bnei Betera, they didn't know if you offer the sacrifice on Shabbos or you wait until after Shabbos, because it's Shabbos. Does the Passover lamb overrides Shabbos or not? And they said, there is one rabbi here, a new immigrant, his name is Hillel, and he was a strong disciple of Shmaya and Naphtali and the previous leaders, rabbis. Maybe he knows. They went and they called them, and he proved them. It's interesting, he said he proved them from the line from the Torah. Then he proved them in many ways. There is many ways how to learn a law. They didn't accept it so first. Finally he said, this is the way Shmaya and Naphtali taught me. Oh, now you're talking tradition, now we listen. Then Hillel became a leader. Oh, what happened? When they saw that he knows better than them, they got up, they gave him a seat. Only once in Jewish history such a thing happened. There's one more story of this, that the son of the Baal Shem Tov, after being 1 year Rebbe, he stood up and he told the Maggid, my father said that you should be the Rebbe. He gave up. These are two stories ever in Judaism. I never saw a rabbi giving up his crazy. No such thing as admitting that you are wrong. Then that Hillel became a leader on Pesach, on the night of the Seder. Then that's why we mention him. Cain also Hillel, because
What was the answer?
Hillel became a leader.
What was the answer? Do you already tell us?
The
What?
answer was that they could do the sacrifice.
Oh yeah. The answer was
So Pesach.
Hillel said that you can sacrifice on Shabbat. Yes, you can over. It's like well, one of the lines that he said. He said we have 620. How many days of the year we have? 350.
365.
365. That double at 720 sacrifices. He says we have. He meant there is 52 Shabbosim, and you double it 120. Whatever it says, there is every Shabbos we push away Shabbat because we do the regular sacrifices, right? Then what's the difference between this sacrifice and this sacrifice? They didn't accept it. Finally, he came up with many ideas. He proved from the lines from the Torah. Finally, he said that was the tradition. And then they accepted it, and they appointed him the leader. That because Hillel became a leader on the Seder, we mention Hillel's name. Then we eat the afikoman. The afikoman is something that you eat. That's the last thing you eat. After the afikoman, you try not to eat and not to drink beside the other 2 cups of wine that were by the end of the Seder. After the sandwich, the custom is to eat the egg the first thing before you start to eat the meal. Now you put the cup of Elijah before you bench. Some people do it before the bench, some people do after the bench. Elijah the prophet. When we remember Elijah the prophet?
Why?
When?
Bris.
By a priest? When else?
Seder.
Seder, when else?
After.
When we remember Elijah the prophet? Beside of a priest and Pesach.
Haftarah?
Very good, Avdallah, yeah. Eliyahu, right? We sing every time the song. Eliyahu Hanavi. What do you say? Ever thought about the word? Eliyahu Hanavi. B'meira yavo eleinu. Soon he will come to us. With Moshiach, the son of David. Elijah the prophet is mentioned by the prophet Malachi. Malachi says that Elijah will come and tell us of the coming of Moshiach. That's why we mention him, we have a cup for him by the Seder, because by the Seder, if there is one night appropriate for the redemption from Egypt, for the redemption from exile, is the night of Seder, because the redemption of Egypt happened on the night of the Seder. The redemption from Amen was hanged on the second Seder, on the second day of Pesach. That's why then what could be a better time for redemption? That we are mentioning Elijah, we are preparing a cup of wine. We want to show how much we are waiting for him physically. Judaism is a very tangible religion. It's an hands-on religion. Everything is we do it. We don't just believe and talk about. We do it. That we prepare a cup for Elijah. By the breeze, Elijah is coming because of a different reason. He's there because he once complained to God that the Jewish people have forsaken the covenant and they don't observe anymore the breeze, that God told them, you will have to come and show. And be a testify that the Jewish people observe the breeze. Why Saturday night? You mentioned Saturday night. Why Saturday night?
We just do it. I don't know.
There's a few reasons. The main reason is, it's written in the Talmud that Moshiach will not come on Shabbat. You know, the Jews on Shabbat are tired after the children. They have to sleep. It's not a time for Moshiach. Moshiach, we have Shabbos now. What are you disturbing us in the middle of Shabbos? You're waiting for 2,000 years to come now. Then the Talmud says Moshiach will not come on Shabbat. That Saturday night, the first minute we can wait for Moshiach. Moshiach comes, we start to sing, Eliyahu, where are you, Elijah? We want you to come. A little more Kabbalistic, there is 3 meals on Shabbat. Friday night is Abraham. Shabbos lunch, the Kiddush, is Isaac. We have the Shalosh Shudas. We're doing Shabbos afternoon between Mincha and Mariv, especially in the summer, but really it's every time. That's Jacob. And the 4th meal, Saturday night, there is a meal, it's called Melave Malka. There is 4 meals on Shabbat. You shouldn't have to eat the rest of the week. You know what I mean? It's like, then the rest of the week you just fast. Then there is many Jews, the Rebbe is to only wash on Shabbat. That's what they used to wash, used to eat bread on Shabbat. Break bread on Shabbat only. And Saturday night. Why is Saturday night? It's a meal, it's called Melave Malke. We say goodbye to the queen. Who is the queen? Shabbat is the queen. Why it's connected to King David? Because King David asked Hashem, when is his time? When he will die? Oidieni Hashem Kitzi. Hashem, he says, he should tell him is Ketz. Ketz means when is this day? God told them, the Medrash says, I cannot tell you. Nobody knows when he dies. But God told him, I can tell you one thing. That he will die. He told him, that he will die on Shabbat. Every Saturday night, King David made a party. He has another week. That's why it's connected to King David. David, who is Moshiach? Moshiach ben David, right? Moshiach comes from the house of David. Saturday night is another appropriate moment for the coming of Moshiach. But Pesach is above all of them. That's why we open the door. That's why we have a cup of wine for him. Even that we don't, when we open the door, we don't speak about King David, Elijah or Moshiach, but that's what we open the door for. And we are physically opening the door and telling Elijah, you are invited, come into our life.
You also have people for another day, right? We already mentioned that.
What do you say?
After Pesach, don't you have someone with people over your house for dinner?
I
No,
don't understand.
not this one? Like
What?
another meal?
Then there is the meal, he's talking about the last day of Pesach. The Baal Shem Tov made the last meal of Pesach, Tuesday night, after the end of the holiday. It's called Seudas Moshiach, the meal of we are welcoming the coming of Moshiach. Because the whole holiday is about Moshiach. If the first days are more to celebrate the exodus from Egypt, the last days are about Moshiach, especially the last day of Pesach. The Haftorah of the last day of Pesach is about the coming of Moshiach. Od Hayom Benov, that's all about, from the prophet Isaiah, I think. I think so. Not Jeremiah, I think Isaiah. That I don't remember, one of these two. that he speaks about that it's about a miracle that and he goes on in the language literally that Yatzah Chota Megeza Ishai will come a branch from the house of Jesse. Jesse is the father of David, and he speaks about Moshiach. And we end the whole Seder. How we end the whole Seder?
Next year.
Yeah.
Next year in Jerusalem. Doesn't mean the Rebbe used to say always, doesn't mean it have to be next year in Jerusalem. But it means to say that if Moshiach comes now, next year we'll be in Jerusalem already. When is the other time we say next year in Jerusalem? Yom Kippur. By Ne'ilah. After we blow the shofar, we announce Leshana Haba B'Yerushalayim, twice a year, on Yom Kippur but it's much more comfortable to announce it after the Seder than after a whole fast day, 26 hours of fasting. Here it's much more sweet the next year in Jerusalem. It's written that there is a story about, I mentioned the story a few times about this Jew who had the poritz, he had the what is called, the duke, the sheriff coming to his house for Pesach. Told them, I mentioned that last week, I think. Yeah. Next year in Jerusalem, he told them, what do you do next year? He said, turned to God, he says, God, maybe I'll forgive you, but what the other guy is going to say? Then, if you look good, the first half of the Haggadah, until the meal, it's about the Exodus from Egypt. The second half of the Haggadah is about the final redemption. The first 2 cups of wine are about the beginning. The last 2 cups of wine are about the end. The third cup of wine we drink after the benching. The fourth cup of wine we drink by the end of the Haggadah.
Is it because it gets easier to drink
What?
the last 2 cups of wine? It gets a little easier?
After the meal, probably. It's in the beginning is out. I mean, somebody told me the other day that they had a Chinese family to the Seder. By the end of the Seder, they thought they came to after they eat the matzah and the more, they were about to leave. I said, why are you leaving? He says, they thought that's the meal. Obviously, in their houses, that's what they eat. They didn't realize that the Jewish people have a whole. It's a famous story about it used to be in the time of in Russia. The soldiers used to go to Jewish families for the Seder. That a Jewish soldier tells his friend, just tell the officer you're Jewish, you'll be invited to a Jewish family, you'll have an amazing meal. Fine. He's coming, says, but I don't know anything. He says, don't worry, you just told the Seder, nobody is going to test you, nobody will tell you anything. Nobody will bother you, you'll see. They came to synagogue, every family took a person, one soldier to home. He comes tomorrow morning, he says, no, how was it? He says, it was terrible. He says, what happened? So they came in, I was starving, I didn't eat anything all day. The first thing, they gave me a cup of wine, fine. Then they gave me like a little bit of onion and salt water. I said, I was so hungry, I ate celery, I was eating more and more. He says, then they gave me crackers. I said, they said they're praying and praying and praying and praying, they gave me crackers. I ate, he said, he says, on top of it, then they took out the ulcer dish. He says, I saw this, he said, I ran away, I couldn't take it anymore. I told them, you fool, another 2 minutes, you would enjoy such a meal. In life is the same thing. Moshiach is about coming. Let's not give up a minute before the time comes.
That's true.